Hi, it's Shelly and welcome to my channel. What are we doing today? People often ask me if I would ever consider moving to Mexico full-time and leaving my home country of Canada behind. My answer is always no. While I love Mexico dearly and I enjoy my time there, I also enjoy my own home country and my time spent here. Being a Mexican-Canadian snowbird, I feel like I have the best of both worlds, and that's what I'm going to talk to you about in today's video. So, sharing my best life ever, that's what we're doing today. Anytime you talk about living in Canada, it isn't too long until the subject of the weather comes up. It's cold up here in the winter, and the snow and ice can be a challenge. By living in Mexico for the winter, I avoid all of that nastiness and I can enjoy beautiful summer conditions almost year-round. I can get out in the fresh air almost daily, and Penny and I enjoy our daily walks year-round, thus making us healthier and happier just to be out getting a bit of exercise in nature. One of the challenges in moving to Mexico has been the language barrier. I love living in a local neighborhood away from the hustle and bustle of the tourist areas. But along with that comes the fact that not much English is spoken in my neighborhood. I'm learning a new language in my 60s, and this activity keeps my brain active, and small breakthroughs in communication are extremely rewarding as well as challenging. I will admit that when I'm back home in Canada, I enjoy a bit of a break from the daily language struggles, even though I do keep up my studies here. My goal is to be at least conversational within the next couple of years. Another challenge where I live in Mexico is the lack of consistent hot water and water pressure. The good thing about this is that it's usually quite hot in my area, and a nice cool shower is often very refreshing and necessary to bring that body temperature down a bit. However, I would be lying if I said I don't enjoy a long hot shower when I'm home in Canada. It's wonderful. One of the things I love about Mexico is the rich culture that abounds here. Beautiful regional dancing and costumes, amazing Mayan history and culture, colonial architecture are just not things that I have exposure to where I live in Canada. I love learning about the traditions of my host country and being able to participate in or see a completely different culture than what I grew up with. I find it fascinating and really enriches my life. Another big difference for me between the two countries is transportation. In Mexico, I don't drive at all, so I must rely on private or public transportation. This can be both a challenge and a blessing at the same time. I don't have the expenses related to vehicle ownership in Mexico, and the public transportation is economical. Not having a car also frees me to do more walking as well, rather than jumping in the car to run errands. Mostly I walk to my local stores, and therefore I get more exercise. However, I also don't have the convenience of going where I want, when I want either. Going to and from the beach or somewhere out of the town requires more planning. At home, I live out of town, so vehicle is necessary as there's no public transportation. I like both ways, the lack of responsibility for driving in Mexico and the convenience of having a car at my disposal back home. Having my home back in Canada brings with it the responsibilities of maintaining my outdoor as well as my indoor space. In Mexico, I rent my accommodation, so the owner-manager of the property looks after the maintenance of it. I also have a domestic worker that comes in once a week to ensure my place is sparkling. While I love not being responsible for my Mexico home, I am also a bit of a putterer, so sometimes I can get a little bit bored. Back home, I always have some sort of a project to occupy my time. My gardens and yard work and keeping my home clean and tidy. While I don't really have many chores in Mexico, this has the advantage of allowing me more time to work on my Spanish language learning, my YouTube channel, and quality leisure activities that I do just for me. I love the balance that living in both countries gives me. There's no doubt that the cost of living in Mexico is much more economical than in Canada. While the costs in both countries are increasing at a rapid rate, Mexico is still cheaper to live than Canada. I love the fact that I can get fresh fruits and vegetables while I live in Mexico for the winter. Canadian produce during the off-season is both expensive and not the freshest, since it's had usually traveled over 3,000 miles to get to us. Groceries are cheaper, rent is cheaper, cell phones, internet, electricity, and so on are all less expensive in Mexico. So what this means to me is that by spending winters in Mexico at a lower cost, I'm able to also live affordably in Canada during the summer months. No heat bills, local produce is more available, and I only have to have my car on the road for half of the year. Being in Mexico on my own can sometimes be a little lonely. During my time in Canada, I see my friends almost daily, and we schedule lots of get-togethers and fun activities to keep us social. Having spent 2 full winters in Mexico now, however, my social network is expanding, and if I'm feeling lonely, I can call on one of my new friends to get together to do something, or just hang out. This has improved my Mexico life immensely because I don't feel quite so on my own. Of course, I miss my family and friends back home, but spending 6 months in each place allows me to spend lots of time with both sides, wherever I currently am. Having a place for Canadian friends and family to stay for a visit to Mexico also allows them to afford to come and visit for the price of a flight. So in conclusion, I really feel I'm living my best life ever by being a Mexican-Canadian snowbird, and that I have the best of both worlds. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video.